once again, this is the second time I've said this year. I think the polling companies really have to do a lot of thinking about the questions they're asking, how they're carrying out these polls. David Anderman, I'd just like to bring you in. We also had a lot of people who said that they were undecided right up until the last minute. And the two camps were really looking at some very key demographics. Hillary Clinton really thinking that she could capitalize on Donald Trump's rhetoric about immigrants, about Mexico, to more or less bag the entire Latino or Hispanic vote.
Well, it is interesting because a lot of people have suggested that this was the time when really the Republican Party had reached the end of its line, and that, in fact, by the Democrats capturing the huge Latino vote, that this really put them in charge, for the foreseeable future, for decades perhaps in the future, much the way the Republicans had lost the African-American vote back in the 60s. Clearly, that's not the case. The Latinos were not, in fact, in charge tonight. It was the Trump supporters, the whites, I hate to say this, the whites, the uneducated or the undereducated, the underemployed, and so on. These are all people, I might note, and this is something that Trump himself brought up numerous times during the campaign. These are not people, not that won't necessarily talk to the pollsters, but that the pollsters don't even find. That they're not online. Many of them don't have a cell phone. Many of them don't even have telephones very often. So they're not in society, but they do have a vote, and that's what's key tonight is the really disenfranchised and people of America have risen up now and said it's enough, and this is the person we want to have lead our country.
And this is coming off the back, of course, of two straight Democrat terms in the White House. Barack Obama in the Oval Office now for 8 years.
Well, that's another interesting point. The last time we had that really was FDR and Truman. We've never had that kind of a dynasty, if you will, like that, of 3 consecutive terms of one party.
So perhaps on that front, not entirely unexpected. But if we look at what Barack Obama has actually done in office, he did come to the White House as a relatively unexperienced politician, far less experienced than Hillary Clinton is at this point. Has he been an effective president?
Oh, I think he's been a very effective president in some respects, but not necessarily the president for the whole country, and not necessarily a president who has developed a world view that works for the vast mass of the American people, or in fact for the world. There are large stretches of the world that have some doubts as to how effectively he's performed or how effectively his whole trajectory has been. So I think that's a major concern is, do we want to continue on this trajectory which hasn't worked for a lot of Americans, or do we want to try something completely new? And trust me, Donald Trump is going to be something completely new.